Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Yangdong Maeul. This is a folk village in Korea, closer to Pohang actually than Gyeongju, where people actually still live in their historical homes, in the historical hanok, in a slower pace of life. And this is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. We are staying, or we have the very good fortune of staying in one of the older homes in the complex, Hyangdan, which dates to the 1540s. And we're going to take you on a tour today of this gorgeous property. So this is the upper area, the main quarters. This was the residence of the noble Yi family. And this particular estate was actually built here in 1540 at the behest of King Jungjong for the aging mother of one of his loyal officials, Yi On-jok. So this home is unique amongst all of the homes built historically in Korea in the Joseon dynasty, especially because it was built to honor an aging mother, and it was therefore built with her comfort in mind. And it was also built so that her loyal sons could have easily go and visit her without having to cross distances or courtyards. So we're going to take you on a tour of this unique and gorgeous estate. So if you have any questions, if you're watching in the live stream, pop them in the live chat. If you have questions, if you're watching this as a recording, then go ahead and pop them in the comments and we will answer them. So we are here in the upper courtyard, and we are actually looking at what is called the sarangche. This is the men's quarters. This is where the gentlemen of the house would spend their time, and that central wooden platform area is where tea and food were traditionally consumed. So that wooden platform area, it's not heated. It doesn't have underfloor heating, but the rooms on either side of it do. Right. So one of the beautiful things about these historic Korean homes, these hanok, as they're called modernly, but they were not called that in the era, this does not want to stay, they were not called that in the era. In the era when such a home was built, they were referred to as, forgot the word, taebok. Taebok, yeah, taebok, I think they're called taebok, because of the tiles on the roof. Right, so basically in the Joseon dynasty, there was a difference in homes and in status of the owner based on whether you could afford tiles for your roof or if you had to have straw thatching for your roof. And what we've learned by being here in Yangdong Maeul is that any of these homes with straw thatching generally belonged to servants who worked here in the village and served the great houses. Or they were farmers who, again, worked here in the village and served the great houses by farming. So hanok literally means Korean home, like hanbok means Korean clothing. And those are all terms that were basically invented at the end of the 19th century when Asia started westernizing as a way to distinguish between the Western way of doing things and the traditional local way of doing things, in this case, Korean. So this building has stood here since the 1540s. And originally this property was almost had twice the number of buildings that it now does. Unfortunately, during the Korean War, it did suffer damage. So it was 99 kan, which is a distance measured between the columns. So it was originally a property of 99 kan, and now it's only 56 kan. There's a column? Yeah, there's a column. Now, one of the unique things about this property, if you look up there, you can actually see gorgeous lotus blossom carving as part of the motif in the woodwork of the supporting beams. And this is timber frame construction with wattle and daub. So what you're seeing is white is the daub, and then underneath of that daub is basically a wicker hazel tree sort of construction, woven basket-like construction, and then the daub is worked into that to actually block it. Okay, yeah, just reminding everyone, if you have any questions, pop them in the live chat. And also, don't forget to tap the screen if you're enjoying this. What am I looking at? My cameraman is pointing at something. Yes.
I think that's a Kieran.
Oh, That might be a kirin. You're
like
right.
A unicorn-like
Yeah,
creature.
that might be a mythical creature.
You can kind of see it in some of the other ones
Yeah,
too.
you can see it in some of the other woodwork. This particular estate has a lot of details that later hanok don't have, because in the 16th century, Joseon dynasty was a booming kingdom. It was economically powerful, it was militarily powerful, it was culturally powerful, and so the homes that were built in that era were actually grander than the homes built by families of a similar station later on after the Imjin War, actually. Yeah.
So HD Kai says that blue really pops against the beautiful building. This is a lovely court.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, so I'm wearing hanbok. So this is historical Korean clothing, not traditional. So I am dressed in this is actually an 18th century style because I don't have 16th century style clothing yet. I'm working on it. I'm working on making an ensemble. But yeah, so I've dressed up. I've dressed actually in court attire for this tour. Technically, I shouldn't be wearing a tangi for just being here in a noble estate. This is actually court wearing for when you're at the royal palace. But this home was commissioned by King Dungdong in the 1540s for the mother of one of his loyal officials. So I feel like it has royal connections in any case. Yeah.
Takeda says you always find amazing things.
Yeah. And let me tell you, so everyone, this is an Airbnb. We are staying here. This is a property at which you can stay. You can't rent the whole thing because the lovely lady Nani, Oni Nani, my big sister, as she's now insisting that I call her, and I'm her Yangdong Sang, I'm her little sister, right? So she still lives here. This is the property that's been in her family since the 1540s. Her grandfather was an official in one of the last noble officials in Korea to serve at the Joseon court. And she loves our hanbok so much and was so impressed by our hanbok that she insisted that we each try on the official garments that belonged to her grandmother, who was a noble woman, and her grandfather, who was a court official. So we were trying on 100-year-old garments yesterday. I felt it was both exhilarating, elating, and terrifying at the same time because the silk wonsam or a dopo that Ryan was wearing was disintegrating in spots. The silk was so aged. She still insisted, so we did. Yeah, it was awesome. So this is a property that you can find on Airbnb, and the hospitality is above and beyond. We were welcomed with afternoon tea, and I'll be posting pictures of this. We were welcomed with afternoon tea, traditional Korean tea cakes and fruit, and very expensive boicha, pu'er tea. We were given a tour. Of course, then we had our hanbok fashion show where she kept taking out historic garments that her grandparents owned in the end of the Joseon dynasty and having us try them on over top of our hanbok. And then she drove us to a samgyeopsal, I was going to post some, not post some, samgyeopsal Minari restaurant, which is a restaurant where they grill pork belly with water parsley, this amazing, amazing vegetable. It's kind of a water weed, actually, called minari in Korean. And they actually cook it together so that the fat from the pork belly renders out and then just soaks into the beautiful, crisp green of the minari. And it becomes the most delicious thing. And then at the end, we mixed in rice to make this amazing bokkeumbap. So yeah, yes, there is a cameraman. He's dressed also like a nobleman from the Joseon dynasty, Wong, a king.
Just emphasizing that we love the food.
Oh yeah, we did love the food. It was amazing. And it's nowhere near here. This village only has like 2 restaurants because it's a very small village. So she actually drove us there. We didn't ask, she offered. So this is part of the amazing hospitality that awaits you if you come to Hyangdan here in Yangdong Maeul. Yeah.
Awesome and respectful.
Yeah, yes. Okay, so this space is basically, this would count as a reception area if people would come to visit the gentleman of the house. They would be served tea here. The table here basically echoes that original function of this space. This is where the gentleman of the house could study because, of course, Yangban, the noblemen of the Joseon era, were supposed to spend all their free time studying and continuing to brush up on the Chinese classics and or write poetry. And basically basically almost every member of this family, male member it seems, had a pen name. So they were poets historically. So this is a space where they would also sit and write poetry, where they would study, where they would take tea, and also where they would welcome guests. Now, when the weather was not particularly good, then you could come over here.
Trip over your shoes.
And you could come over here. Do I have to do anything with the little camera anymore?
No.
Okay. This is the sarangche, right? And this is a room that you can also rent. Right? This is a room you can also rent. This is the gentleman's quarters, and all of those windows open up in some degree, sometimes entirely, and will actually create a massive, massive ventilated space in the summertime, but in the wintertime, that is ondol heating, that is a heated floor. So this too can be a space that you could actually comfortably stay in.
Look at that hat box.
Yeah, there's a, oh, and over there that's it, over there in the corner, that is an late Joseon hat box. So that's after the hats basically stopped being like this style you see here and started getting a lot more cylindrical. Yeah. Welcome to our live stream tour of an amazing and unique Airbnb property in Yangdong Maeul. If you are enjoying this, then please like and subscribe. And if you would like to come and stay here, then check out Airbnb. No, I'm not getting paid to say any of this. We have just had the most amazing first 20 hours in this space, and we wanted to share it with you because there is nothing like this in the world, that an Airbnb in a 16th century nobleman's property that has also been used for filming period K-dramas and movies. Yeah, and the hostess, Nani, she is amazing, absolutely the best. She had tea waiting for us and breakfast waiting for us, and that wasn't even part of the booking. We had fresh strawberries. She made us grilled pork, the chewy rice cakes, and fried eggs, and boita, pu'er tea, very expensive, fermented black tea, right? So this is something everyone should get a chance to experience because you're never going to get to live like you're in the 16th century more comfortably than here. Okay, let's move on to some other spaces. Oh, my shoes are over here. So something to remember about homes like this, historical homes and Korean homes in general, they're generally shoe off. So I do recommend, and my cameraman didn't think to do this, he brought a pair of shoes that turned out our cats had peed in. But what you always want to think to do is to bring shoes that are easy on and off, because otherwise you'll spend a lot of time tying and untying your shoes.
That's Takeda how the picture is.
Oh, Takeda, how's the picture quality? Yangdong is a 16th century, 15th century village originally, and so it doesn't necessarily have the best, the best reception. So this interior courtyard, this whole property is unique because traditionally men and women in the Joseon dynasty lived separately, right? So what that meant is that men and women in noble families almost never interacted. They just didn't. And this home is unique though. It was built so that the sarangche, the men's quarters, over here, and then the ante, the women's quarters, over here, are basically connected. They communicate. Right? So these were the quarters built for the aged mother, the mother-in-law, the mother of this loyal official in the 1450s. And they connect immediately with the men's quarters, with her son's quarters. And he also wanted her to have a 4-season access to the world because the other hideously depressing aspect of the Joseon dynasty is Neo-Confucianism. And it's one of the reasons it ultimately failed and slowly, painfully failed, because women were at the bottom of the hierarchy and their women were basically locked up, penned up inside these ante, these inner rooms, and they almost never left them. So her son, being so devoted and loyal, designed it specifically so that she would have a courtyard here, and the courtyard would communicate directly with doors that open to the men's area so that they could easily interact. and so that he could actually come and visit her in her quarters quickly and easily with no fuss or muss, no matter the weather.
And so she had the view.
And so she had the view, but she also has her own. So this is another part of her room. These are all her rooms, right? So she also has a view from this side. Let me show you. Again, shoes off. This is another room that you can rent, by the way. The lady of the house has so many hanbok, right? So she also has a view out the door, right? So all of these doors can be opened up, and then she has complete airflow through, and she has a view of the outside world. This roof didn't used to be quite this high, so she used to have a better view. She really did. She once upon a time had a much better view. But also through here, and this is the part you can't see, and there's furniture in front of it now, but these are their doors here, and this opens up to a floor space that's just for his mother, and then she could actually from there, yeah,
Up above.
yeah, up above.
Behind this.
Yep, there's a special space up here just for her, so she has this amazing view of overlooking the valley, right? Yeah, we want to get up there, but we haven't figured out how yet. This property is massively complex.
You can't anymore.
I'm certain there is a way, we just haven't figured it out. There's a second story here. There's an entire second story. Okay. Yeah, right. Okay, right. So.
And all the little
Yeah, all the little things. So this family's lived here since the 16th century, and you can tell. They've just got giant rice chests and tables and massive pots and more rooms that you can stay in. And you can tell this roof was completely redone relatively recently. So, not everything survives forever. And there were last month, 3 houses here caught on fire. And are now under getting some serious rehab help because some guests, they were Airbnb, and the guests plugged in too many devices, and it definitely overdrew on the power, and so sparks flew, and wood timber frame does burn, so the pictures were terrifying. Okay, so here coming to where Nani's grandmother lived, her noble grandmother. Right. This is where she once she was a little girl and her family had come along. This was the mother-in-law suite, basically, right? So I'm just going to open it up so that we can get some light. You can actually see. Again, there's so much furniture just everywhere, but these doors can open up, and then natural light comes in. And then this is our room. Right? This is our room. This is actually where her grandmother lived, and when she was a little girl. So that was after her grandmother was no longer the lady of the house, but was the lady dowager of the house, basically. But by then, at the end of the Joseon dynasty, even the Yangban were so impoverished, even the aristocracy was so impoverished that her grandmother spun and wove ramie cloth. That's this, mochi. And she actually has an entire bolt of it in a storage closet, just waiting to be turned into something. I'm going to try to convince her to let me buy it from her and make it into actual hanbok. But here we have this groove here. This was part of the ramie making process, that her grandmother would sit here basically and work on ramie. And this was part of the ramie thread and yarn making process for then weaving it into this amazing silky cloth that is far superior to linen. And I love linen.
Parts out here.
Yep.
They could restart the whole process.
Well, this is for ironing. This is actually an ironing board, and those are
Beaters were for.
no, the beaters are for fabric.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's floor heating in here, the floor gets really toasty. So yeah, and of course you have this lovely little space here where you can sit and take tea. And last night after we got back from dinner, she brought us boita, pu'er tea here in a beautiful little tray, beautiful cups, and served it to us as our post-dinner eatness. And again, not mentioned in the booking, not expected, but offered very happily, in fact. So I don't know if that's part of the standard offering, but if you come dressed in hanbok, it might be. Okay, onward.
Kai says, this is amazing.
Thank you. If you're enjoying this live stream, don't forget to double tap that screen and consider subscribing. Okay. Yeah, wait until, so we're now coming to the kitchens, and these kitchens are amazing. So, it's okay, I'll go back and close them. This is the original kitchens. And this is an actual hearth. It still functions. You build a fire underneath, and then those pots are for making soup or making rice or anything that requires mass amounts of cooking. And of course, all of these doors communicate here onto it. So there's, the servants also have quarters over here. And up there, we have a storage area. You can see that it is open, so there's aeration, but it's closed enough hypothetically to keep critters out, although not any critters that actually climb. But this also has been recently redone. You can tell because of the very light color of the timbers. But yeah, can you imagine working in this kitchen? Now it now has running water. It wouldn't have originally had running water like that. But there was a cistern here. So this one is much smaller than it used to be, but they would actually have a cistern here and it would collect rainwater. And there are also wells all throughout the village from which fresh water can be drawn. And one of the wells is still functioning and has a modern plastic bucket on a modern rope on a modern pulley. And there's actually a sign that says danger of falling in. So you can actually go and get water from the well here, and I guess people still do. Oh yeah, mortar. This is a mortar and maybe what's left of a pestle, although I think this might just be here because they didn't know what else to do with it, because a pestle should be more round. But
They have the big one on back.
yeah, they've got a big one over here. So all these jars are still in use, by the way. Oh,
Sorry, people.
yeah. All of these jars are fermenting things and are still in use. These are not decorative. So Nani is still actively making a lot of slow food products like tenjan, like gochujang. I think that's probably omija, shisandra berries in that one. Yeah, so this is a pretty amazing property. And yeah, you can just walk around here.
Guy says, lots of space for steam and smoke.
Yep.
It was a loud and busy place.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. So lots of space for steam and smoke, hence the big opening, right? And yeah, this was once upon a time, this was a 99 khan estate. And I should mention that 99 khan, that distance between columns, the number of columns that you can have, that is the maximum that private non-royal residences were allowed to have. So by the king making and basically permitting, authorizing a 99 khan residence for the mother of this official shows both his respect for the official and I suspect for the mother, acknowledging the role she played in raising and forming that man, right? And also the fact that he built this place for her convenience, for her comfort, says a lot of, despite the fact that Neo-Confucianism was very misogynist and put women in a very unfortunate place, men still loved their mothers. They still cared for them and they still showed them a great deal of respect. So this whole place is basically a paean to a mother. It's a poem in architectural form, basically. It is.
Such a beautiful space.
It's a poem in architectural form.
Show them the giant pestle.
Yeah, let's show them the giant pestle. Okay, so some of you have asked me for my medieval cooking show on my Creative Contessa channel. I've talked about these giant pestles. Well, let me give them a human for scale.
Contessa for scale.
Contessa for scale. Remember I said it's like a rowboat sized oar? It is, and let me tell you.
No, not you. Go back towards you.
I don't know what we're doing. It's dirty. I don't want to get it too close to me. But this thing is heavy. And that is the mortar. So this is what I meant when I said giant mortar, and you stand and you just beat the living God out of it. And what you can't see is in here, there's actually a secondary stone so that you could actually add to the grinding motion if you want. We need to find one of these. Also, it's a bit like those Indian pins, the Indian clubs, the ones, the heavy clubs that you throw. Yeah, the juggling clubs. It feels like that. Right, so this is actually, no, that's not what I thought it was. That is the work, that is the counter down here. So in the Joseon dynasty, a lot of work was done on the ground, including food prep. So this is actually basically a kitchen counter for doing food prep. Okay, moving along. Now, some of you have asked me, and rightfully so, also let us know if the reception drops. We're in the 16th century. Some of you have asked me, and rightfully so, I think that might be a Wi-Fi box. What about facilities? Sanitary facilities, shall we say, because this is a 16th century home. Well, of course, they've updated it. You saw the running water in the kitchen, and the bathroom for guests is out back. So you will have a little bit of a walk in the middle of the night, and I know for some people that's a deal breaker, but not for me. So here we come out. I mean, how often do you get a view like this on your way to the bathroom? Just saying. And again, all of those thatched roofs represent homes that would have belonged to servants and or farmers, what many people now call peasants. So here, this building is the bathroom. Yeah, it just takes a little finagling. But it is a completely modern bathroom. So you're not going to come down?
I am.
Right, it's a completely modern bathroom. The shower, but this is kind of a little bit old school Korean, because the shower, it's not meant to be like where you just sit under the shower forever and wash yourself. Use the shower to clean yourself and get on with your day. This is not a place you come to take a 30-minute shower. It has a urinal which automatically flushes. Unfortunately, the space is so small that if you're going to the toilet, the urinal will clean itself. So watch your clothes. Do some filming? Okay. Okay. So up here, you'll notice that this property is very topographical, shall we say, right? So this is very traditional in Korea. It's making a virtue out of an unfortunate situation in which most of the country is hills or mountains. And so they really do have to take advantage of the hillsides in order to actually build homes. Of course, when you are wealthy, you can afford to terrace the land in order to build a home. So homes like this, noble homes like this, the table tend to be built on the sides of hills in terrace form. So you have different levels. So up there, that is actually the family shrine, what you're looking at above us. And you know, historically, ancestor worship is a practice here. And so they would actually keep the family spirit tablets up here. And at specific times of year, families would go and perform ancestral rites. Now, those are changing now. There used to be more times a year when people would do that, but unfortunately, modern life is very hectic, and people don't have quite the time to devote to performing ancestral rites with the same frequency with which they were performed in the Joseon dynasty. So now basically sort of Solal and Chuseok, Lunar New Year, and Chuseok, the Thanksgiving, and maybe sometimes on a death anniversary, rites might be celebrated. It's a nice little view of the valley here. One of the things I love about this place is how very quiet it is, because the locals do have cars, but they don't use them to travel around the village. They only use them to go in and out from the village. So there is very little sound of traffic, despite the fact that there's a high-speed rail line right over there that allows passengers to actually get a really good view of Yangdong Maeul. You almost never hear the noise. And the susurration of the highway is just sort of a ghostly echo in the distance. Sorry, there's some big steps. Now, one thing I will say about this kind of property in general, it's not accessible, right? If you have mobility issues, a hanok stay like this is probably not for you.
You couldn't make it to the bathroom.
No, you couldn't, no. So keep that in mind when you're traveling in other places, that, accessibility is not necessarily a legal requirement, especially not in historic properties. So if you have issues with stairs or with uneven footing, then you might want to write the host or the property in advance to get good intelligence on it. Yep. So over here, this is the lower courtyard, and there used to be more buildings here. There used to be many more buildings. It's about half the number of buildings than what there used to be. What we're looking at in this direction, this was the stables and also the servants' quarters. So this home was large enough to actually provide housing for its main servants, its upper level servants in this space. Cameraman, ooh, if you heard that, that was a pheasant, everyone. Okay, questions or comments? Let me see. I see you have to raise your dress. They probably had to do that as well. Were there belts for movement like this to protect the dresses? That is a very good question here. Right, so a couple of things about my chima. This is a noblewoman's chima, and so it can be long enough to pull on the ground. Noblewomen in this era didn't move very much. They weren't. They lived inside the ante, inside the quarters. We can walk and talk while I do this. Yeah, they lived inside the ante, the inner quarters, and they didn't have to move around very much or very quickly. So there was no need for that. They didn't need a belt, and they probably didn't wear them. They probably just lifted their skirts and daintily minced around as needed. Now, the giseng, they are a class of ladies who wore both extremely fashionable garments, but also moved around a lot. They rode horses, they went on walks, they went on hikes. You distracted me, thank you.
All right. Go there.
That might bleed.
Let me see.
No, it's okay, that's fine. He just caused me to concuss myself by distracting me mid-step on a low-hanging eave. Anyway, so giseng, they did wear belts. So we actually have images, depictions of giseng out and about where they have a cloth belt that basically is wrapped up around their waist, and they just pull their skirts up because underneath they're wearing pants, paji. And so, their skirts being blown up or riding up or anything is not considered. My boson are slouching down because they're in modern shoes, not the right kinds of shoes. So because of the paji the pants that women wore underneath, the skirts aren't the thing keeping them modest. So it doesn't matter if they have to haul their skirts entirely up. So you see servant women and giseng all the time out and about with a belt and their skirts pulled up through the belt. But the noble women didn't have to do that. And that was kind of the sign of being a noble woman, was that you could just let your skirts be long enough to pull on the ground. And also you then paid washerwomen to do the cleaning for you. Right? So this space has just all kinds of lovely little corners like this. This also communicates out.
Too bad there weren't visitors.
Yeah, right. What a view, huh? Just imagine sitting here, taking tea, and just looking out over that valley view back before there was a high-speed rail and highway. And just enjoying the peace and solitude. And that is why Yangdong Maeul was one of the literati villages of the Joseon dynasty. So many famous authors specifically built residences here because of the inspiration of the landscape and the peace and the quiet. It was very far away from Hanyang, so it was very far away from the royal court, which also meant that they could stay away from the very bloody politics that sometimes ruled in the Joseon dynasty. Yeah. And there are noblemen who became scholars and decided they passed the test. They passed the official exam. They could have gotten a position in the royal court, and they decided, that's not for me. I'm going to go and live in the country and teach. And so near here, there is a Solwon, which is one of those Confucian academies that is also a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Osok Solwon. And our hostess desperately wants us to go there because she's very proud of her local heritage. So we'll probably go there tomorrow. Today we wanted to just spend here in Yangdong Maeul, enjoying Maeul and enjoying the day. So if you come here, there's and you know, you don't come to a place like Yangdong Maeul because you want excitement, because you want to get drunk. This is a quiet place. This is a place where inspiration happens, not a place where parties happen. If you want to party, that's Gyeongju. Go to Gyeongju. And again, if you plan to come to a shoes off place like Korea, Thailand is also often a shoes off place. I really do recommend that you wear shoes that are easy slip on, slip off. For men, loafers, for women, Mary Janes and Co. This is a gate that communicates down to the lower courtyard. And again, there's just fun, beautiful little details on the wood. You know, it's practical. It's supposed to keep things out, people out, and yet it's still beautiful. Don't think we can, there are no, oh, I guess there are stairs. We can communicate this way.
I've already been over there.
Oh, have you? Do we want to walk up the stairs towards the building that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. It is, it's really pretty.
So when there was people down below, I came over here.
Nice. Ah, feature. So I keep talking about underfloor heating, right? This chimney is from the ondol, from the underfloor heating. Koreans have had underfloor heating for 2,000 years. You know, I think everyone across Eurasia figured it out at about the same time, the Romans, for instance. But we lost it in the West. We lost that technology in most places in Western Europe, thanks to the Justinianic plague, probably. But here in Korea, they didn't. Here they didn't lose it. And so they had floor heating up until the Korean War, and then things got really impoverished here. And so most homes lost the underfloor heating, and it's only in the last 20 years, 20, 30 years, that they've started incorporating underfloor heating back into homes here in Korea. But this is the chimney from which the smoke would be emitted, and the idea is that the furnace is actually on the other side of the building, and then the hot air travels through the floor of the building and is pulled out at the chimney.
Right. I wonder if this was for the lower buildings.
Yeah, this I'm pretty certain this is from the lower buildings, because otherwise it would be higher. I mean, that's why this is an ondol room, for instance. This room here is a heated room. Yeah. So looking at the property from this way gives you an amazing view, right? Isn't that just gorgeous? Korea is so three-dimensional. It really is.
Need a big brass bell.
I need a big brass bell. Yeah, you're so right. Actually, I'm surprised I haven't heard one ringing. Right. So let's talk about, some of you have heard this lecture before, but I'll give it again. The construction of these historic homes in Korea is intentional. The roofs have an eave angle, an angle of the eaves that is calculated so that in the winter, the sunlight actually hits the walls of the inner rooms and helps heat them. But in the summer, it does not. So the rooms stay cooler. And then in the spring and the autumn, the sun hits it about half and half so that you get the right effect of the heating from the sun, but not too much. So that is actually a very clever feature, and something maybe we should work back into construction of homes to reduce the need for power-hungry cooling and heating systems. The other thing is that if you see here, they're on this side, these irons hanging down, right? Right, that looks like, you know, something you might poke a fire with, but not at all. These doors are hinged. This wall is on a hinge, basically. And you actually fold the door open. This one folds like this. And then you lift them up and they actually rest on these holders. And then this whole thing opens up and you get a cross breeze through because the windows open on the outer wall as well. And so in the summer, you can get a complete cross breeze and also, you know, daylight shining in. But then in the winter, when it gets cold again, you just lower them. And then if it's something in between, you can open just one of them, open just the door. So much flexibility about how the room is ventilated or not ventilated. Also, you see the angle on the inside, the way it's eaved upwards. So that is actually intentional because it actually creates a convectional flow of air, which not only allows the air to circulate, thereby regulating the temperature, but it also keeps mold from growing because in the summer, this is a very moist place. And so black mold and mildew can grow very easily. And by building the roofs with this pitch, it actually creates almost the perfect level of circulatory ventilation, and it prevents air from getting stagnant. It prevents moisture from building up in any one place, thereby preventing the growth of unwanted fungus and other microbiota. Questions?
Cats will be cats.
Cats will be cats. And actually, we do have some kitties here. Unfortunately, they're not here at the moment. Last night, they had a really rough night brawling behind our bedroom. There are two ginger kitties who live here. They are friendly to their human servitor, but we have not yet been deemed worthy enough to be human servitors. So, yeah.
Takeda said, I was wondering what those were.
Yep. Yeah. This is, if I had permission, I'd show you how they work, but it's actually, these doors are heavy because they've got the hanji paper, the mulberry paper on the outside, but these are wooden frames. So they look like these, and they're heavy. So it's actually not the easiest thing to lift them up.
Skipper Jones talking about the convection says it's black magic.
It is black magic.
Versus black mold.
It is, which it is a little bit.
And HD Kai has a great question.
Okay.
Is there a part of the property where you feel particularly transported?
Oh, yeah. Yes. I would actually say that this part of the property, I feel particularly transported, especially sitting here and just looking out. So show them, basically you've got the same view I do if you just slowly turn around. So this is the view from where I'm sitting. And I mean, just don't look at the cars in the parking lot. Just keep your eyes level. And you've got that beautiful mountain over there, that beautiful hill with, some beautiful blossoming trees interspersed amongst the new spring growth. You've got the tile roofed homes, which are, flanked by the thatched roof homes of the servants and the farmers. And you sit here and you realize that a famous Korean poet who lived and wrote 500 years ago, almost exactly 500 years ago, minus 10 years, sat in this exact place and wrote these beautiful poems that were elegizing the beauty of nature and the flow of harmony that was to be felt here. And also, you can hear the froggies. The froggies are already in full song. So you can hear all the little amongst, because down below are what will become lotus pads when the lotus actually blossom. And so they're good place for frogs to live. Is that Nani Oni? Yeah. So definitely, this is a place. So this place is called Hyangdan, for those who are wondering, Hyangdan. And you can find this on Airbnb, and it's not expensive. For 2 nights here, we got here early. And here's the other thing, we arrived early, and Nani sent me a message asking if I could just tell her what my arrival time was because she wanted to have welcome refreshments available. And I wrote her and I said, well, we're going to get there before check-in, but no worries. I understand check-in is 3 p.m. And we'll just walk around until 3 p.m. comes. And she said, no, don't wait until, when you get here, just come, right? So even though there's a check-in time, it's not really strictly adhered to. There's much more of a sense of you are a guest in my home, and now we feel like family. So this is, and I've read the reviews, and that's kind of the tenor throughout all of the people who have stayed here, Korean or otherwise, that they got a very old-fashioned hospitality experience, which is, like in many places, that's dying out in Korea. It's more and more rare to get that kind of personal welcome to my home welcome, versus everything now is, a hotel, which you don't really get that sense of you're part of the family at a hotel generally. Yeah. So were there any spaces anyone wanted to look at again? Otherwise, I was thinking we would try to take you on a walking tour of the village itself. I say try because this is a 15th century village with many 16th century buildings, and the reception also sometimes seems 15th century. So if we're definitely going to try to take you for a walk, and I apologize if the picture quality gets bad. Hopefully you'll still be able to hear us, and we'll tell you what we know about this amazing space. It is really quite it's wondrous actually that this survived the Korean War at all. And this property, as I said, suffered enough damage that it suffered about 60% of it survived. Yeah, more or less 60% of it survived. But it's also interesting to then imagine what was here before. And Nani has actually added a couple of new but old style buildings so that when her son comes and visits with his family, they have their own little separate section. And those, I think, are also probably available. This property actually has quite a few rooms, and I know groups actually will rent this property for their special events.
This is Korea, not Spain.
This is Korea, not Spain. Definitely not Spain. Welcome to Yangdong Maeul in Korea. This is originally 15th century. This is a 15th century village in Korea where they still have traditional Korean architecture known as hanok, and it's mostly a car-free village. There's one main strip where cars are allowed, but otherwise most of the alleys are pedestrian only, and it's very quiet and it's very peaceful, and it allows you to see the beauty that was Korea before the Korean War, basically. Because after the Korean War, everything was destroyed during the Korean War. Most things were destroyed. And then Korea was very impoverished. And so when they rebuilt, they couldn't afford to rebuild like this. It's only in the last 15 years that Korea has become affluent enough that they have started rebuilding in this amazing fashion, which is why increasingly throughout the country, you can stay in hanok properties. But they're new, they're not the original buildings, whereas this is an original estate from the 1540s.
No. Edmund Thunder, we're definitely in Korea, not Spain.
Yeah,
It's not Galicia.
We're definitely not in Galicia. This is no estamos en Galicia. De ninguna manera.
Are those layers of petticoats hot?
No, this is not hot. This is very comfortable. So if I stand up, what will they be able to see?
I can pick it up.
Okay, so let me show you. Let me show you the layers of clothing. Right. Okay, so let me show you the layers. So on top we have, this is a silk tangi. It's a very fine, very fine translucent silk, so it doesn't retain any heat at all. Under that, I've got a silk jogori that's lined in linen. Under that, I have a linen undershirt and a cotton silk chima petticoat. Then we have a reimi, which is called moshi in Korean, a reimi chima on top of another reimi chima. And then here you can see the other two layers of my silk chima. And then we've got, I don't have paji on, instead I have dansokot made of sambe, right? So no, this is not hot at all. It's actually very comfortable because it's layers. It's actually insulatory. So if it were actually hot and summer, which it's not, it's spring, so it's beautiful right now. But I have worn this in 37 plus degree heat and humidity here in Korea, this exact ensemble. And it was just fine because all these layers are light and they create an insulating effect against the heat, right? So it actually stays, my body temperature actually stays pretty even and pretty comfortable because it's lots of layers and it's all natural fibers, right? If this were polyester or acetate or rayon, different conversation. Questions? No? Okay. You want me to show the front? Okay, this is from the front.
You fixed it.
This is, then we have the side, and then this is from the back. And the question earlier, which was a good one, you can see that my skirts pull on the ground, and that's because this is a noblewoman's ensemble, right? As a noblewoman, I would rarely leave these quarters, unfortunately, only for very special occasions like ceremonies or rituals, or to go serve at the royal court, maybe as a lady of the court. But that means that it doesn't matter that my skirts pull on the ground, because remember, these surfaces are washed multiple times a day by servants, right, historically. So this is a shoe-free zone. This would be very, very clean. Everything was kept spick and span clean in a nobleman's home in the Joseon dynasty. So it doesn't matter that this pulls on the ground, right? Not at all. Now, if I were a giseng, or I would not be wearing this, but if I were a giseng or a woman of lower stature, then giseng are of lower stature, but also fashionable. So giseng did also have chima that pulled on the ground, but they did go out and about. They had freedom of movement. They would ride horses, they could go for walks, they could go out on picnics, they could go out on pleasure boats, they could, travel long distances if they wanted. And so when we see the giseng on the move, as it were, in especially 18th century depictions, because we don't have many depictions of women before the late 18th century, you see them with a belt around their waist like this, and their skirts are tucked up through them. And what's interesting about the way the gisengs tucked up their skirts, it doesn't seem like they gave a lot of care to how it looked. It isn't done necessarily as artfully as you might imagine a courtesan might do, which might be part of the appeal, right? It's now that I think about it, the Neo-Confucianism of the Joseon dynasty was all about order, 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 order. Everything must be orderly. And so I could see that actually men might find something not orderly at some core of their being attractive because their lives were also strictly regulated, especially the noblemen, right? So they might see an asymmetrically tucked up skirt on a courtesan to be appealing, actually, and different and refreshing, despite all of the training and inculcation of Neo-Confucian values throughout their whole lives. Humans will human.
Completely unexpected thing.
Okay.
Edmund Thunder, who thought we were in Spain,
Okay.
says he loves Korea and he loves jokbal.
Jokbal, my friend.
My favorite Korean dish, jokbal.
Fellow jokbal lover, jokbal, for those who don't know, is an amazing Korean dish. It is basically part of the upper thigh of the pig and the foot together, braised and steamed until it melts, until all the muscle and the connective tissue in the muscle and the collagen just melts until it's soft and just this delightful gelatinous texture, and it's such a rich flavor, and it's been marinated, and it's usually braised with ginkgo nuts and in a rice wine broth. And then it's sliced, and then you make little wraps with it. Sometimes someone takes a food torch and actually torches the skin so it gets all nice and crispy. Jokbal is one of the best things about Korean cuisine. And I don't expect anyone outside of Korea to actually know what jokbal is. In fact, Koreans look at us in shock when we say that jokbal is one of our favorite dishes. They expect us to say bibimbap or bulgogi. Bulgogi's okay, but it's not my favorite thing. Jokbal. Or posam, or dak galbi is delicious. What other things do we love? Oh, galbi jim, which is oh my gosh, there's just so many delicious things that are not Korean barbecue.
HD Kai, in reference to what you're talking about women, says, and now an educated woman is giving a historical tour to the world.
Thank you so much. Yes. Yeah, but this also shows in a certain way, this place, this building shows that even in a very patriarchal society like Joseon, women still were respected. They were still in some ways treated very well by their sons, usually, not by their husbands. Husbands weren't necessarily the best to their wives, but sons were almost always very good to their mothers, which I'm pretty certain was a woman's way of ensuring that at least someone would treat her well, right? She will train her son to treat her well. And this place was built for the comfort of a mother, right? A loyal mother who raised her son so well that the king decided that he should build this estate for the mother, right? And give him permission to do so, and give him permission to build it in ways that were not acceptable for anyone but the royal family, right? Which is also a very interesting way of showing respect to a woman in the Joseon dynasty. Yeah, no, we love this place. We've already decided we would actually like to come back here and maybe spend like Monday to Friday. Why Monday to Friday, you might ask? Well, weekends in Korea are crazy in basically any place that is really worth seeing. And there's a lot of places worth seeing, but there are a lot of Koreans who also want to see them, because in Korea, most tourism is still domestic. Korea is South Korea is basically an island. I know some of you have heard me say this, but I'll say it again. South Korea is basically like an island because of North Korea. You don't drive to North Korea unless you want to not come back ever. So that means that it's not, you can't, South Koreans can't just take a road trip to China. Japan, you have to take a ferry or a plane, right? So if you want to road trip, you just want to go someplace for a day, then that's going to be in Korea. And lots of Koreans like to just do things for a day. So on the weekends, almost everything worth doing and seeing in Korea is chock-a-block humanity. We're not big fans of crowds. I particularly can't stand crowds. I get claustrophobic. It's not about the people, it's just the numbers. So we avoid doing most things on the weekend. We stay home and get things done on the weekend. And then during the week, we go out and travel, which for me is actually part of my job. So that is me doing work. But yeah, we've decided we would definitely like to come back and just spend Monday through Friday here. Sewing and writing poetry and writing travel blogs and sharing the experience with other people. And we're going to go at some point today, there are 2 restaurants here in town, in the village. And we'll be obviously going to them, one for lunch, one for dinner. And we will live stream that experience too for anyone who is interested in seeing what it's like to eat a meal in a 15th century village. I don't know what I did. I think I lost the brochure that we had that was about this place. Oh well, yeah. Okay, so are there any questions about Hyangdan? Otherwise, I think we're going to go now and we're going to try to take you on a walking tour. We'll see how well that works. And then we can also show you the cool gate that they've built here, that the lady of the house, Nani, has cleverly engineered so that you don't need a servant to open the door for you, because historically a nobleman's estate like this had lots of servants, and one of them would have been a doorman, basically, whose job it was to kind of be available so that if anyone came in the night, they would open the door for them. There were curfews in Joseon cities and towns, so it was unlikely that was going to happen, but sometimes things went awry in Hanyang, and that meant things went awry in other places. So there is no doorman here. Nani is no longer a noblewoman. This is several generations removed from that. So, she can't afford to just have servants to keep the gate for her. She has therefore created a really ingenious system that allows her and us to go in and out.
Another automation taking a job.
Another automation taking a job away.
Gelbeline says, "Hi, Contessa."
Gelbeline. Gelbeline, welcome. Yeah, we might do just one quick walkthrough on the way out for anyone who's just joining. What do you think? Yeah. We'll do a walkthrough, a quick walkthrough to show you the beauty of my shoes. Oh, to show you the beauty of this space before we head out. And I'll also show you how I belt up my skirts, because I will be belting up my skirts, because this is not, then I'm going to leave. Okay, so yeah, here is the property. Here is this amazing property. It is just, and if you visit enough of these historic homes, you start to see little aspects that differentiate them by historical period. You just develop a sense for, oh yes, that's an older style, that's a newer style. Do we have koyangi? No. Oh, this is a tea bush. And I've never been offered so many things to eat before, but you can eat these. It's really tasty.
Did not ever do that before.
No, Nani has been introducing us to all sorts of things that look like weeds that are edible. Yeah, it's been a really fantastic experience. So Nani actually lives in these quarters. These are her quarters now. This is her sarangche, because it's not an anche, because it's not inside. She's not a man, but it is the outer quarters. And that's where that lovely little room is where we took breakfast. We'll post some pictures of our tea, welcome tea, and our breakfast as a post, so you all can see what that was like. Oh gosh, let me tell you, the leaves on that bush are really tasty. They are super tasty. So I've said it again. I said it before and I'll say it again. This is not the property you come to with accessibility issues. So just keep that in mind. Now, obviously, you don't have to walk this way, but to go that way, you have to take your shoes off. So, and our cameraman, my beloved Ryan, unfortunately, he brought his appropriate shoes. I'll show them to you, and then I'll tell you about them. They have a sad story. So here we are in the inner courtyard one more time. Over here to our right, we have the ante, the left, sorry. To the left we have, I'm used to mirroring things. To the left we have the ante, the inner rooms, which are the women's quarters, where the mother, the elderly mother, well the aged mother, who knows how old she actually was. She was probably like 35, 40.
I don't know, some of these guys didn't take their test until they're in it.
Oh, well, I guess that's true. That's true. So this is where the lady of the house, where the lady lived. And then over here are the sarangte, the men's quarters with, of course, the big public space. But the really unique feature about this is that it's all in one building, because normally the ante would be in a completely separate building. And you would actually have to cross open space to get to it. But the son, Eon Dok, he wanted to be able to see his mother easily, accessibly, with no delay, because he loved her that much. And he didn't want any inconvenience to her, you know, if she wanted to say, come and serve him something, because that's something that Joseon mothers did for their sons. So he built this as one piece of architecture with a courtyard right here between them. And literally these doors were designed to open so that with her doors open, she could just see her son and he could see her without even having to move at all. Right? It's as close as you get in the Joseon dynasty to actually sharing a space between men and women, which makes this completely unique. Right? So it's also unique because it means there's a lot of interior corridors, which there usually aren't. Right? This is where we stayed. If you stay in this room, you get your own tea and reception area. Oh, there it is. You get your own tea and reception area with lovely, and one of the details I love is that all the lighting has been covered in these beautiful wooden frame and hanji paper boxes so that it, you know, keeps the motif, keeps the ambiance, right? I guess I should turn that off so we're not leaving power on. And then here is the room in which we stayed. We've put the bedding, folded the bedding up. This is traditional Borio floor bedding there.
There we go. Sorry.
Yep. Traditional floor bedding. And if you need more mattresses, more padding, never hesitate to ask. Korean hosts, especially at properties like this, are really happy to host people and want them to be comfortable. So if you are not good at floor sleeping, just ask for another mattress. They'll give it to you. Right. Then here we have the kitchen. Still functional, in fact, and this was used as a kitchen up until, you know, relatively recently. I think they were still using it in the 60s, actually. Yeah, if not later than that. And these pots of fermenting things are not decorative. They are fermenting, and there's a whole yard of pots on the other side of this building that are also filled with fermenting things. So Nani is a busy, busy lady of the house, shall we say. Okay, come. So these are the kitchens. This would have been a work area. Above is storage. And, you know, oh yeah, there are lights here. There are lights everywhere, right? I found the switches. The light switches have all been covered in wood so that they also blend, which again is just a fantastic detail to keep the beautiful historical value of the place, or the historical aesthetic of the place. And there's just all sorts of antique equipment just everywhere around this property.
Ask people if they know what that is.
Yeah, okay, so who knows what the basket item is? I think I know what it is. I think it's a fish trap.
Oh, well, you just told them.
Sorry.
It's a fish trap.
It's a fish trap.
I'm not sure what the background is there. The rope.
Yeah, I don't, is that another kind of trap? Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting implements here, and you can tell they come from a variety of eras. There's some bells over there. Oh, those are net weights, I think.
Which ones? No,
Those bell-looking things. I don't think they're bells. I think those are weights.
I think those are bells.
I think
They
they're.
usually use round stones for.
Well, there's no one to ask right now.
And do you see this machine?
Oh yeah, check out. Do you guys see the machine here? I've only seen these in museums.
Or on the street in Daegu. Between
Oh
our house
right.
and Henry,
Oh
there's one
right.
sitting there.
Just sitting there
It's not
rotting
there
away.
anymore. I
Yeah.
noticed the other day. Baskets and pots.
So here we're passing the servants' quarters on the right and more storage rooms. Apparently, the servants who would have lived in these quarters would have been manservants. So they would have been the people who served the noble residents of the home.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is.
What a beautiful compound she has.
It is an amazing property. And again, for those of you who didn't hear me say this, you can book a stay here on Airbnb. And I think, let me see. Oh, I never told you the price. So for 2 days, we paid 347,000 won, which at the current exchange rate is like
290.
250. It's a pretty shitty exchange rate right now. It's $250.
Good for us.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to grab my cloth belt for the walk. My cloth belt for the walk. Here, I'll leave the microphone with you. I'm just gonna go grab my cloth belt.
Don't forget to grab the tea too when we come back. It's right there, yeah. Yeah, it is a really good price. I'll take you over to the edge of the compound here so we can look out. I like to stand here in the clothing and see people look up going, what? I don't know if you can hear the frogs, but they are in fine form today. Yep. Tour group noticed me. Ah, it is so beautiful here. So peaceful. They actually have a little museum here too. Over in that direction in a newer building in a large cafe. Which we'll probably go and sit at later on too. Or get some tea and then go sit someplace else. I'm going to guess that she can't find her belt. Here she comes. Ah, she took off her tongue.
Thought I'd show. This is the one that hasn't been peed on. So, I have removed my tonguey because I'm going to belt up my skirts like a giesing, and I can't be wearing a royal court garment when I'm dressed like that. Anyway, this is what men's shoes in the Joseon dynasty basically looked like.
My shoe looks huge compared to you.
Yeah.
Good
Right.
Lord.
Well, your foot is big compared to me.
Nobody can hear you because I have the microphone.
Oh, okay.
No.
They probably still heard it. This thing's pretty good at picking stuff up. So, okay. So, this is a gentleman's shoe from the Joseon dynasty. Ryan has a pair of these. Well, had a pair. The other one was 2 days ago. I think Tommy, our little folded-eared kitty, decided he didn't like the idea of us packing bags, and he went and protest peed in the shoes. So I don't think there's any coming back from that. He he unleashed a torrent. A torrent. Thankfully, these are not real leather. They are, these are a pretty cheap pair. I mean, they've got some real leather parts in them, I guess, but it's not real leather. It was like $30 for a pair. And while I'm normally not a disposable goods kind of person, we tried nature's miracling it. It didn't touch it in the least. So we're going to be disposing of these. But I thought you might like to see the kinds of shoes that our cameraman should be wearing versus the things he has on his feet right now. And as you can see, it's very easy to kick these on and off. Right, so yeah.
HD Kai said, is that a horse down there?
Yes, go show them the ponies. Yeah, those are ponies. There are no horses down there. There was a horse last time. I'll show you how I built up my skirt. There was a horse, like a proper horse. It was an Arabian, actually, I think, last time. And I was hoping there would be one here again because I was totally going to pay to ride the horse in my hanbok especially. But it seems that the horse turned into 3 little miniature horse assholes.
Yeah. It wasn't a real horse back then. It was just 3 horses and 3 ponies in a trench coat.
3 ponies in a trench coat, I guess. No, these are those mean little miniature horses that are just real jerks. If any of you are in the horse industry, you know whereof I speak. Bigger horses are nice and sweet, and little ponies are just mean assholes, right? They suffer from small animal syndrome. They are not nice. And we were watching these be assholes to each other, so excuse my language. But they weren't they, handsome?
Yes, they were.
To make sure, the thing about a wrap skirt is that you have to make sure you get all the layers when you do this thing. Yeah, I know. I was just addressing that. that you have to make sure you get all the layers so that you don't end up with. Yes. Okay. Well, is that a horse down there? Yeah. Yeah, so for those just joining, welcome to Yangdong Maeul in Korea. Thank you for joining us on this gorgeous spring day. The cherries are blossoming, and here the apple trees are also blossoming, which is pretty spectacular. Did we get it all? We got it all? Did we get it all?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the skirts tucked up.
Gotta turn, not too fast, make your viewers sick.
I am now ready to go and take a walk like a gisang of old. What is a gisang, you might ask?
No, I already know. I would ask.
Yeah, ha ha ha. A gisang. Oh. You're showing them a pole. Ooh, exciting, a pole.
Your camera's a little bit dark for me. Where I thought I had sunglasses.
Oh, goodness, okay.
So I thought I was showing you, but then I realized it's
Right. Okay. We ready for our walk, everyone? Yes? Excellent. Silence is acceptance. That's right. So up here is the newer edition that they rebuilt. Do we want to go ahead and show them that on our way? Of course you want to go upstairs. Who doesn't want to go upstairs? Who doesn't want to see Contessa Butt? So remember I said very three-dimensional properties because of the elevation, but it's also considered an advantage because you have this amazing view because of all of the terracing, right? So this is actually a very recent piece of architecture that was added to the property to replace some of the buildings that were destroyed during the Korean War. And this is actually a library over here, a personal library. And then in there is actually a sitting room with, I swear to God, an antique Samsung TV set, old school TV cabinet from the 70s. This property has antiques from like every era. It's really crazy. Oh, let me put these little snack cakes in the tea thing. Oh, we should tell about the tea thing. So our hostess, Nani, is so amazing that she has packed for us a portable tea kit so that tea set so that we can go out into the country and enjoy tea here at the beautiful some spot in the village overlooking the valley. And this tea set, she sent us little snacks. She sent us little tea cakes. And she sent us a carafe of tea. I've got a tea mat, and we've got 2 teacups. We didn't ask for this. She just said, would you like some more tea? And I said, yes, please. And then she brought me this whole kit and she said, so you can go and enjoy tea overlooking the valley.
And we will.
And we will. Again, not, all these little extras, you just don't even expect them. Over there, you can see the chimney for the ondol heating for this, which also means it's old school ondol heating. At least they built it into the place, whether they still use it. Our room does not. Our room has electric heating, so no fires.
Takeda says that is cool. I miss the old cabinet TVs. To look at them. Not the bad reception or messages.
Yeah, the old cabinet TV, it transported me back to being a little girl at my grandmother's house because she had one of those old TV sets. You're now getting the live action stare experience. Okay, so we can show them the cool system. So this gate still has, a bar. Obviously from the inside, you can just open it, right? But she has actually attached on both sides of the bar, she has attached a wire on one end and a cord on the other so that from the outside, you can both lock it by threading this wire through there and out through this hole, or you can unlock it by pulling this cord this way. Isn't that cool? Now she's still here, so we're not going to, yeah, we need to shut it. Darn it. My parasol. Okay, wait, I got it. I got it. Yep. Okay, there we go. Yep. Yeah, we need to shut the door.
But you should lock it.
Yeah. So let me shut. Yeah. No one is concerned about anyone stealing things here, but tourists will just, if a door is open, and actually here in Yangdong Maeul that is true. If a gate is open, it generally means if there's no sign that you are invited to go and look at the property because these are all historic landmarks. So see, put the wire through, close the door, and it's locked like that. And then if I wanted to unlock it, I just pull this, like so. And when the lady of the house is out, then that goes over there, and there's actually a padlock that goes over it. But she is here, so we're not going to do that and lock her in her own home. That might be.
It says the village in the valley is amazing.
Yeah, the view. She really. God bless her. She wanted to make sure we had the best time possible. She kept trying to suggest things we could do outside of the village, but we don't want to go outside of the village. We live in a busy city of 4 million people. We love just this beautiful, peaceful, historic atmosphere. We don't need to go out and see anything else. We're here for this.
So they can hear the birds.
Yeah.
I wonder if the frog sounds are...
You probably all can't hear the frogs. I doubt they're being picked up by the microphone. So again, many places in Korea are 3-dimensional, topographical. So if you have accessibility issues, you'll just want to do a little research in advance to determine what would be acceptable for your level of mobility.
Now, the main sites are becoming really accessible.
Yeah, this is an interesting development. Palaces, the royal palaces and main historic buildings, monuments, are becoming accessible. They've actually installed, we could actually show them what it looks like from the lower court. So they've actually installed ramps over stairs and also little elevators for mobility devices in a variety of historic sites. But Yangdong Maeul is not one of those places yet. This is the actual main gate of our property. So historically, this is the gate through which people would have entered, guests, servants. The gate up there is a more recent addition because this is a historic landmark, it's cultural treasure 214. In fact, this is left open during the day so that people can come and just see what it was like to be in the Joseon dynasty in the 16th century. A very impressive facade. And again, that's one of the things that distinguishes this from so many other homes. You can see from here, you really get the impression of it being one compound instead of multiple buildings.
So actually, Takeda, yesterday there was a lot of smoke from cooking fires throughout the village.
There was, yep. So yesterday, fires, maybe cooking, maybe ondol heating. In fact, we're going to post a video. Did we post that video already?
I don't think I did.
Yeah. There was a chimney that was emitting papal levels of smoke, shall we say, and it was a little alarming. So we took a video of it.
Ishikai says these steps are horse friendly.
Yes.
Flat and shallow. I bet their horses hung out in that courtyard. Yep.
Yes, you are correct. So this is actually what you're seeing here, this building here, is in fact a combination of the stables plus the servants' quarters. Now you're going to say, but how did the horses get up to the stables? So there's a difference now in how this looked then than now. There's missing buildings, there's missing infrastructure. After the Korean War, there was no need to rebuild that. There were no more horses. No more rich noble family.
I bet those lotus fields look gorgeous.
Yeah, so the ugly, muddy, weed-ridden field down there, those are lotus pads, basically, lotus paddies. And in July and August, they will be stunning with lotus leaves and beautiful, beautiful lotus blossoms. And the lotus, that's why, looking at the disgustingness, can they see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that it also doesn't smell particularly good. And if you look more closely, it gets worse. So the lotus blossom is actually a metaphor in Buddhism for the human soul, because it is a plant that not only grows but thrives in fetid, stagnant, disgusting, muddy water. And yet it produces one of the most beautiful blossoms in existence, the lotus blossom. So the lotus blossom is the human soul and the fetid environment is the evil world, right? So that is why you see lotus blossoms everywhere in Buddhist symbology and also in Buddhist temples, in Buddhist architecture, Buddhist statuary. Yeah. And living in Korea, I came to understand that viscerally because when it's not lotus blossom season, those areas are not very pretty. Okay.
You want to go this way again? Or?
Let's go this way. We didn't go this way last night.
I was thinking we could actually go into the place that has the documents from.
Yeah, that's up this way, I think. Isn't it?
Maybe.
Maybe. Yeah, so decreasingly do young people want to live here. They don't want to live in these small spaces, unfortunately. So these homes, especially the servants' homes, have become Airbnb properties for the most part. People don't actually live in these full time anymore. There's a shrine.
Thank you, HD Kai. Appreciate it.
That is a shrine. That is one of these. It encompasses a stela commemorating some great event. Or person. Could go either way. Fix my mic. Ooh, look, she's Prager's. She is Prager's. Meow meow. Psst, psst, psst. Little baby. Kitty. Psst, psst, psst. Pregnant baby. Nope, she doesn't want to be pet, but she doesn't care about people enough to really run. Yeah, it's up there. No. Now, interestingly, throughout this village, there are little convenience stalls like this one. And they actually trust that you'll just, you know, anything you take, you'll pay the price that's requested. That's a level of trust. This one is still lived in. This is still someone's home. Yep. Good. Thank you, HD Kai. I appreciate that feedback. Let us know if the picture starts pixelating and we'll immediately reverse course. I'm sorry. This is a lived-in village, so they're doing some kind of something. So I apologize for any noise. Yep. It does. So here is another taebok, another of these amazing noble homes. This one has a 500-year-old document on display inside of it. Oh, I smell ginseng. You smell the ginseng, don't you? That's unusual. I mean, it's great, but also...
You can even stay right here.
Yeah, here is one in which you can stay. Are.
Or stay away.
Or stay away. Okay, so here, let's, if you show the property, I will tell them what we can know about it. Ooh. Right, so this is Gwangadong. It was built in 1514 and was the residence of a civil official and a calligrapher of the early Joseon period, which is why that document is there. So apparently he was bestowed a great honorific in 1515, the honorable title of the pure and untarnished official, in recognition of his integrity and virtue. He apparently also went to Ming China as a royal envoy. Yeah, and he studied in Donggang Sowan in Gyeongju and in Seoksu Sowan, which is the one that Nani would like us to visit. Right. So yeah, this basically dates to 1514, and there's nothing about it having been burnt down and then rebuilt. The current walls, though, that you see, these ones here, were added in 1981, probably when people really started visiting here, and they realized they needed to. Oh, there are people there. Okay, yeah, well, let's go.
It's real then.
You can see what Koreans think of when, oh, or not, they're not Koreans. Right. Yeah. I think so, yeah, but that's okay. So here we have, you can really see clearly which part of the building has ondol, the underfloor heating, this part. And then over here, we have the terrace, which does not. And this is basically what I would call a 3 seasons home, because of, again, you have the modular walls and the windows, and, you know, in the summer you can open it all up, and then in the winter or in the spring and the autumn when it gets a little chilly, you can just close up the things that can be closed up, but you still have the very inspiring view of the valley. Yeah. Right, so we're going to be respectful and quiet in here. I love that they actually allow people to go up into this space, because this is another one of those areas where I really feel transported. You know, especially with the view behind me. The garden back here, you can tell that the family doesn't have the kind of money they probably had in the 16th century because it's not terraced or landscaped the way it would be to reflect the 4 seasons on each little terrace, but it's still an amazingly inspiring view. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's, I feel, and I'm going to be honest, I feel scenic. in this space, I definitely feel scenic.
I imagine dancing happening here too.
No. So I know this would be, I agree, this would be a fantastic space in which to dance. Dancing did not happen here. Dancing was not something they did socially in the Joseon dynasty. In fact, most cultures didn't dance socially. It seems that was an invention of the West. It seems historically, in any place I've studied early dance or traditional dance, it's all about ritual, it's all about ceremony. It's not something you do for social interaction, and it's generally strictly segregated by gender. So no, this would not have been a dancing place. This would have been a contemplative studying space. They would have served meals here for large groups. Any entertaining dancing, now performance dancing, yes. Performance dancing would have happened actually where you're now sitting, dear viewer. It would have happened in this space. Yeah, it would have been in this courtyard if any performance dancing were engaged for any specific functions, which they did. There were performance dancers, but it was a whole different world in the Joseon dynasty. Yeah. And so any kind of like dancing done by the common people would have just been done out in the fields or in the meadows. It wouldn't have been done, there wouldn't have been a dance floor, there wasn't a dance hall, it wasn't a part of Joseon society. And we have almost no information that says any differently about, or I have not found different information about the Goryeo or the Shilla dynasties. So I know every time I look at a space like this, I think dancing can happen here. It would never have been intended for that though, not at all. Now what they would have done, and maybe you're saying, but that's dirt, they would have put down straw mats. So this space would have been covered in straw mats, and then the performers would have danced here. Yeah, so remember I said that the man who built this place was a famed calligrapher. Yeah, and...
Trying to see the dates on this one. Yeah, 1487 or 67.
Yeah,
for this
so
bottom thing.
yeah, so this, now what we haven't been able to tell, because the Korean is more indicative than the English, is whether this is a copy or the original. I'm praying to God it's a copy. Please let it be.
Original.
Please let it be a
Doesn't
copy.
say replica there. Normally they do.
Well, but the Korean has a lot more information, so maybe.
Use my phone.
No, I don't feel like doing that right this second. Either way, you're looking at a document that, you're looking at a document from 1467, and up here is a document from 1346, printed. And this is a code of law that was completed in 1346, the 6th year of Emperor Tang of the Yuan dynasty in China. So that was the Mongol rulers of China, by the way. Apparently, this is the only extant copy of the law books of the Yuan dynasty in the world. Again, I'm hoping this is a copy, not the original. Yeah. For those just joining, welcome to Korea. We are in Yangdong Maeul, Yangdong Folk Village in South Korea, and we are visiting a early 16th century nobleman's estate here, just seeing what it was like to live in a completely different world in a completely different era. And apparently, according to the sign, a family does in fact still live here. Then here we have, this might be an example of his calligraphy from 1525.
No, that's the king's letter
Oh, okay.
appointing him as the minister of personnel.
So apparently this is a royal missive appointing Son Jung-don as the minister of personnel, dating to 1528, so after this estate was built. Again, I'm hoping it's a copy and that the original is in some much safer, more regulated location. I love the boldness of calligraphy here in Korea in this era. Okay. Onward. onward, dear viewer. And of course, the advantage of a live tour, everyone, is that if you see something and you want us to look at it more closely, just say so. And if you have any questions about anything you're seeing, about Korean history, about traveling in Korea, let us know, because of the last 12 years, we've spent a total of probably about 9 of them here. Yes, right. We've spent probably a total of 9 of them here. It is. I saw people coming out of it. Now, up here is this family's shrine. So anytime you see a building that is painted elaborately, like the one we're about to see, you basically know that it's either a royal building or it's a shrine. So this is a very stylized form of ornamentation. It is not creative at all. It's tightly regulated. At least it's not creative in the sense of, you can just do whatever. There's a set pattern and color palette and motif that must be adhered to in a building like this. And Joseon was very conservative about architecture and art, which is why it can be very hard sometimes to date a building or a painting based on its appearance. Right, so here, oh wow, you can actually show it.
This is actually it. That's the right one.
I doubt it.
A genuine portrait of Sun So.
Okay, so maybe this might be, could also be a copy of it that dates to this era. You can't trust that because most of these burnt up in flames. And again, I can't imagine that they would just have this sitting here. If they didn't, though, if this is in fact an original and not a copy of a copy of a copy, which most of them are, then this portrait dates to 1467. And he is one of the people enshrined here, basically the glorious ancestor, the founder, it seems one of the founders of the clan here, basically. And these portraits, so if you look at this portrait, again, it can be almost impossible to date these portraits by how they look or the clothing they're wearing. Sometimes you can do it by the furniture, but most times you can't because they were so stylized as of the early Joseon dynasty that they kept painting official portraits in almost exactly the same way with almost exactly the same clothing going forward, that you can't say, oh, well, that's a 16th century officials' robes. No, because they look the same as the 18th century officials' robes in some cases, depending on the robe. But not many of these portraits survive. Very little art from the Joseon dynasty survives because it was either sent up in flames during the Imjin War, the Japanese invasion at the end of the 16th century, during the Qing invasion in the early 17th century, thanks to lightning striking buildings and setting them on fire, or during the Korean War, or it was bought by fat cat robber barons in Europe and the United States at the end of the 19th century, and so is resident in private collections or museums. But for the most part, it just didn't survive. So there are very few pieces of medieval Korean portraiture. And there they get a good view of where we're staying. Very nice view of the whole property. You can see how huge it is. So that, everything within that wall belongs to the property. Nani's family estate, basically. And the upper parts of it used to have more buildings than are now thus far preserved.
You can really see the thatching here too.
Yeah, you can see the style of straw thatching here. It is very interesting, the rope netting with the bamboo bars holding it all together and in place. Now, one of the nice things that I like about Yangdong Maeul versus many other hanok villages in Korea is that even though tourists do come here, it hasn't become touristy. So there aren't cheap hanbo rental places, there aren't selfie studios, there aren't cheap tchotchke stores. This is still a lived-in place. And I prefer that, honestly. And let us know how the picture quality is as we scale the heights. We may lose connectivity. And of course, every now and then, you should stop and turn and take in the view. Did they shut the door? Oh, no, I see. They're standing at the other gate, the one that communicates with the upper part of the property.
HDK says looks great. Thank you, HDK.
Thank you, HD Kai. Appreciate the feedback.
And Contessa.
Yeah, big Contessa butt. This is not all. I cannot claim responsibility for what you see here. This is like 8 layers of fabric, 10 layers of fabric.
We've been going for almost 2 hours.
Okay.
Probably what we're gonna have to eat. Maybe.
It could be, although we didn't bring the picnic mat. Can't sit on benches. What kind of peasants are we? So unfortunately, they haven't flooded them yet, but those are all rice paddies. And probably within the next month, they will become beautiful mirrors of water. And it is highly likely that they were rice paddies in the Joseon dynasty as well. Because back then they didn't import their rice from China like they do now, because there aren't enough people who still want to do the very hard work of rice farming, unfortunately.
Stunning view. Love the parasol.
Oh, thank you.
So, have a question regarding the 8 layers of fabric. What is the temperature out there, approximately, and how is the garment temperature comfort? Now that you're out walking.
Yes, okay. So the 8 layers on my butt is because we've got several different layers hiked up. I think I'm actually only wearing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm only wearing 6 layers, but the ones around my derriere are extra. So no, it's about, for those who speak Fahrenheit, it's probably about 70 degrees Fahrenheit, about 20 degrees Celsius. There is a light breeze. The sun is pretty strong actually, but I'm still perfectly comfortable. So, and this is silk, but I'm comfortable in part because we have cotton, linen, and ramie, right? And here on the lower parts, and hemp on the lower parts. And then on the upper parts, it's linen, ramie, cotton, and then silk, right? So it's all natural fibers and it breathes really well. So no problem. And I have worn this in extremely humid conditions here in Korea, in Seoul, at the royal palaces in the summer, and it was still comfortable. But you know, comfortable is as comfortable does. I grew up in a very hot and humid place with no air conditioning because we were a very thrifty family. And so I didn't have air conditioning in my bedroom. We had an air conditioning unit in the living room that was almost never on. And in Delaware in the summer, temperatures can get into the hundreds for Fahrenheit, the upper 30s centigrade with really high humidity. So I grew up comfortable in all kinds of climates. That might be onions. It's either garlic, I think it's onions. It might be garlic though.
Okay, this is very nice. Thank you.
I think it's onions. Here we have cherry blossoms, everyone. These are cherry trees. See if we can get a up close look.
Cherry or apple?
Oh no, wait.
These are
No.
green. These are apples.
These are
Look at the tree trunk.
no, but they're red on the inside. These are cherry.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, these are cherry. These are cherry. Yeah, cherry blossom season. It's for me, cherry blossom season is definitely a metaphor for the ephemerality of beauty because it only lasts for a week. It comes and it goes so quickly, and you never know when it's actually going to start. It's completely contingent on the winter and what the winter is like. So here, you can see that they took a historic home and to make more room on the inside for more modern ideas of space and comfort, they just built an extension onto the back, which is pretty common for these historic hanok. You can see them doing roof repairs here. So they are retiling, no, what's the word I'm looking for? Retiling?
They're going to retile that.
Yeah, they're retiling it. Yeah, they are retiling that roof, and you can see they've built a superstructure on top to protect it for the times when it decides it's going to rain, like possibly tomorrow.
Somebody says, love the cherry blossom tree.
Yeah, we do too. Cherry blossoms are a favorite feature of Korea, but they've got all the blossoms, right? So in February, we get plum blossoms which last actually longer than cherry blossoms, a lot longer than cherry blossoms. And then sometime at the end of March, we get cherry blossoms plus apple blossoms. Oh, and that's right, when the Maeul blossom, when the plums blossom, so too do the apricots. And then right about now, we also get magnolia trees and tulip trees. And then later on this month, the azaleas will bloom. So basically, spring in Korea is just one long parade of beautiful flowers. See? Like those magnolias right there. The tiniest magnolia tree ever. That's a baby.
Can't actually see.
Yeah, it's okay. Oh. And here is an example of a home that is very clearly still lived in, just to show that not everyone in Yangdong Maeul can afford a 99 kan estate. You know, just like now in the Joseon dynasty, just because someone was a yangban, a nobleman, or of a noble family, didn't mean they were rich. So, you know, certain noble families could afford bigger or smaller homes then as now. You know, just because you're a doctor doesn't mean you are a high-paced neurosurgeon who gets paid top dollar to do risky surgeries on the world's wealthiest. You know, you could also just be a family doctor making a pretty middle-class income. Yeah, I would hate to go down this slope in the winter or up this slope because it snows here. This part of Korea right here, this local area gets snow and it's beautiful. Gosh, when it snows here, it is a fairy wonderland, really. Cherry trees. Can smell wood burning. Oh, let's go over there. You always have to look up here because keep. Yeah, we knew it was going to happen eventually. You always have to look up.
Focus. Pass me that. Remember, you're still filming.
Yep. Just dealing with we're dealing with an ornery parasol. Look away, everyone.
Look away. Don't look away.
Okay.
We've got the fixing of the parasol.
Parasol is fixed. Right. So this is an apple tree, everyone. And you can tell the difference because the stems and the leaves that cup blossoms are green. So these are apple blossoms and they smell oh so amazing. They really do. They just smell so good. They really got. Cherry blossoms don't have much of a smell. These ones do. These would make a delicious tea. So good. I'm going to become an apple blossom sniffer, apparently. It is. We are. If we're not going to walk up a slope, why are we even in Korea? Look at these. So beautiful. It is beautiful here. It really is. There's always more beauty to appreciate. So this is actually a much newer home, relatively speaking. This one was built in 1850. And actually, it was a descendant of the man who built the home in which we're staying, of Yangdong, right? So you can see the difference, and you can also tell that Joseon Dynasty was less well off when this one was built. This one is still lived in, and that's why there's a gate preventing people from going to that side of the wall. But this would have been the sarangche, the men's quarters, the public facing part of the building, right? And the women's quarters, the anche, are somewhere back inside. No. You know, these homes were nearly always built with the idea of the chi, the flow of energy, in mind. So they're sometimes arranged for the view, but as often as not, the view is partially taken into consideration. More important is the auspicious nature of the landscape, because geomancy is a very big part of Korean society historically, going back 2,000 years or more.
What type of home is that one?
That was a nobleman's home, but it was built in the 19th century. So it was built 300 years after the place in which we're staying. And some of you may have noted that the homes, sorry.
See here, once I finish my Margaret Beaufort book, I need to enter this historical world next. What do you recommend as an entry book to learn about this dynasty?
Oh, yeah.
You got me hooked.
Great. Okay. So yeah, the dynasty is very interesting. Oh, let me think. So we have a couple of books in our library. The problem is that the problem with studying Korean history is that anything other than modern Korean history is almost all in Korean. There's very little scholarship that's been done in English. So we do have a couple of books in our library that I can recommend. We have one on Sejong the Great, who was one of the greatest kings probably the world has ever known, honestly, from the 15th century. And he's the only Korean king that gets the moniker of the Great. So that should tell you how the Koreans view him. So there's a really decent book on him that actually includes primary source citations from laws that he passed, from edicts that he proclaimed from his own writings. And I think it's actually just called Sejong the Great, Sejong, the Great. And then we've got a couple of other books in our library. Remind us, make a comment under this video when you can, like a comment, not in the live chat. Please recommend books, and we can go, because we have a bunch of books in our library. I just don't remember their titles offhand because I don't focus on the titles so much as what's in them.
Pathways to Korea.
Oh, yeah, maybe Pathways to Korea. Pathways to Korea. That'll get you the Joseon Dynasty.
If you become a Patreon or a member, you get access to our library.
That's true. My patrons and my channel members all have access to our own personal card catalog of our home library. And our home library is extensive. We've amassed a massive collection of very geeky books on very specific historical cultural topics. So our patrons and our channel members get access to that.
So that building was what year?
The building we just finished visiting was built in 1814.
The building we're about to go to?
Yeah, so the building we're about to go to was built in the 16th century, if I recall correctly. Yeah, so we can't go in, we can't talk, we're gonna go in, but I'm gonna stop talking when we go in. So this building is called Mucheomdang, and it was built in the mid 16th century, and this is a real baller move. It was built specifically to host ancestral rites. So they would travel probably from Hanyang, from Seoul, and they'd stay here to hold ancestral rites, and then they would go back again. So it's a real baller move to have an ancestral rites estate.
That's something you didn't mention about our host. Her ancestor, whose the mother's house was built for, or the house was built for the mother, he was the administrator of Hanyang.
Oh, right. Yeah. We'll get back. Yeah. So this does have all the living quarters because they needed somewhere to stay when they performed these ancestral rites, but they didn't live here full time. So it's a flex. We'll just put it that way. Right. Let me see if there's anything in particular. It's got the usual women's quarters, men's quarters, and servants' quarters. Behind the backside of the house is where the shrine is. And the men's quarters apparently were mainly used as a ritual hall, although sometimes also for family gatherings or entertaining guests, depending on what they were doing. But this was originally built specifically for ancestral rites. Yeah, that's a baller move. Okay. Yeah, so if we're just going to take a look around, and I won't comment. I just love this so much. Love. Love it so much. Still used. That's the shrine up there. Apple tree. Apple tree. Just give them a view. So beautiful. Okay. I guess we go out through this door. No. No. I don't want to go down those stairs. There. No. Yep. We're going to go down the gentle ramp. So beautiful. Okay. So we're outside the gate. So I thought I would, for those who are just joining, welcome to Yangdong Maeul, a beautiful historic village in Korea where people still mostly live in the homes that were built hundreds of years ago. Very relatively car-free, very quiet, very slow-paced. Oh, just a sec. Stop moving.
Okay. For those that were watching at the beginning when we were first in there and I showed the stuff underneath, that was some historic wooden tools. That was a backpack, a giant mortar and pestle, some very interesting things in there. You can fix your microphone.
Damn it. I did not design this joggery for microphone abuse.
I need to start adding a microphone on.
Oh, shit. Try to do this. Okay, we'll see if that works. Right, so the Joseon dynasty basically starts in the end of the 14th century as a coup led by the man who would become Taejo, the first king of the Joseon dynasty. He was a scion of the Yi clan. And he was actually a general, and he turned on his king and betrayed him for reasons that he thought were valid, and I don't remember what they were. But he didn't agree with the orders that had been given to him to go and attack enemies on the northern border. So he turned around, went to Kaesong, overthrew the king, started a new dynasty, moved the capital to Hanyang, which is now Seoul. And that is what became the Joseon dynasty. Now, the big change from the last king of Goryeo to Taejo was that Taejo was a major neo-Confucianist, and he completely changed the way everything worked in Korea. He changed the way laws read in terms of what kinds of rights women had. He changed the way men and women interacted. He implemented rules and customs that would literally suppress and retard technological progress in Korea, and that prevented people from expressing themselves ornamentally in their clothing. So it was not the start of a good time for Korea, honestly. It was the start of the downfall. Oh, it's well, yeah. Okay, so here is yet another of the village's wells. There are multiple of these everywhere. This one has been covered, but it still has water in it. And instead of, having to dig water out of a well, they've actually installed a pump and a spigot. So people who want to get water for, their gardens or watering, if they don't have their own water supply, they can get it here. This home is still lived in. And for those who are just joining, homes like this, with the thatching, that's a sign that it was either servants who lived here or members of the laboring class, so farmers, craftsmen, that kind of thing. But one of the things we love that we encountered yesterday is Korea is so good about this, public restrooms. Here, this beautiful little thatch-roofed hut is a public restroom. How awesome is that? Yes, it's completely modern on the inside. I know someone's going to ask about chamber pots. No, it's got flushing toilets and running water and hot water too. So,
HD said, I can't believe I visited these Korean estates from Los Angeles. Me and my kitties appreciate the stream. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, HD Kai. Love to your kitties. I hope you're a good kitty servitor. Thank you for joining us. I hope you subscribed. So I hope to see you back for some more because we'll be doing more streaming later on and tomorrow. So good night, sleep well. Thank you for joining us.
And Alien 3 said hi.
Alien 3, welcome. It's been a while since we've seen you. What have you been up to?
And Elevator in I can't quite read it all. The screen is dark for me. Is the one that asked. So hello to Elevator.
Hello, Elevator. Thank you for joining us. Yeah, if you see anything that you would like to view more up close and personal, just let us know. The advantage of a live stream is that we can take you to it at your request. If you have any questions about traveling thank you. Thank you. If you have any questions about traveling in and around Korea, then let us know. We can answer them. Last 12 years, we've sent a total of 9 of them here in some capacity. So we have a pretty good idea about how things work here for travelers, where to go, what to eat, what to see, where to stay, how to best interact with the beautiful people that are Koreans. Now, up here is a lovely, did you all hear that? That was a pheasant. that we can go this way.
No.
That's, oh, that's the other, oh, that's the other door. So that's the door we decided we didn't. I mean, I'd go up. I don't want to go down it. It's terrifying going down. I think that way. Yeah, no cars. We can still go there. It's just cars that can't go up there. Yeah, let's go up there. Bamboo forest to the right.
Too bad they can't hear that.
They can hear the wind probably for certain. Can you all hear the susurration of the bamboo? Oh, no, it just ends here. I thought this road went to the right, but it doesn't actually. Still beautiful. And now I will endeavor not to slip on a rock and slide to my death at the bottom.
But if you do, you'll be the first one to see it.
Join me live as I risk my life for historical exploration. Again, these roads in the winter, ice and snow, no thank you. So for those who are not as familiar with Korean history and culture, until the 15th century, Korea utilized the Chinese writing system, like many parts of Asia. Korea used the Chinese writing system. But the Chinese writing system is insanely complex and requires years of study to become proficient at it. And that means that people like laborers and farmers don't have time to attain literacy. So when, by the 15th century, Korea is a generally illiterate society. There is a literate part of it, but most of people are not. So Sejong the Great becomes king. And because his last name is Jong, that means he was actually the son of a concubine. A lot of Korean kings were the sons of concubines, not the sons of the queen. And he is an engineer, he's a philosopher, he's a social reformer, he's a real forward thinker. And one of the things he decides is that his people should be literate. And the best way, the most practical way to institute mass literacy is not to just have everyone stop farming and starve to focus on learning to read and write. Instead, he invents an alphabet that is relatively few letters. The letters reflect the position of tongue, teeth, and lips when making the sounds of each sound. So it's massively phonetic and it's easy. You can learn to read Korean, the alphabet, in an hour. Seriously, it's not hard.
Completely serious. Even I was able to.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. But as always, anything that might remove the power and control from the nobility gets met with a massive resistance. So after Sejong the Great dies, basically the Yangban, the nobility, convinced the king that it should not be the official language of any part of official life in Korea, neither of laws, nor proclamations, nor anything that's actually important. So basically, Hangul, the actual Korean writing system, becomes the alphabet of peasants, laborers, and women. So, which means that until the 20th century, the average person could not read or understand directly the laws that govern their lives in any way, shape, or form. They couldn't read proclamations. They had to have someone read them for them.
So, excuse me, says, I'm appreciating your tour. Thank you from New York City at 12:48 a.m.
Ah, excuse me. Thank you for doing us the honor of staying up so late. I'm so sorry. We wanted to get started much earlier, but our hostess loved our hanbok so much that she wanted to do lots of pictures. And she wanted to help do my hair, and we had a nice long leisurely breakfast with her. So we ended up getting a much later start to the streaming than we had wanted to. So I apologize for the tardy nature of this stream for everyone. But thank you for joining us and for staying up late for it. Really appreciate it. What's going to follow?
Mike.
Is it? Oh. It's very frustrating. I did, and then it came off.
Show them
something. Just look around. Over there, is what will become a lotus pond very short, not very shortly, in several months.
Everybody can still hear you.
Can everyone still hear me? We're playing with a microphone. This might be too muffled. It's not playing well with my jogori, so we're trying to figure out where to place it. We need to get a lavalier is what we need to do. Now let's go to this side. We almost never get to this side of things. Over here to the right, we have homes that are still lived in, but then a little bit in front of that is the community center with outdoor exercise equipment, which I think is a fantastic feature. Oh, hello.
They can hear fine.
Great. Okay, let's just walk out to the to the lotus pond. I wish I could convey the apple blossom. So nice.
Oh, we lost it. We're back.
We're back. Are we back? Is everyone still there? Oh, it probably cycled. It cycles after like 2 hours.
It's been 2 hours and 10 minutes. So
Yep. This is a lotus pond. It currently looks repulsive, and by July, it will look absolutely delightful, worthy of a painting in any museum. But right now, it just looks gross. The metaphor of the purity of the human soul, the lotus blossom thriving in the disgusting, fetid quagmire that is the world, the marsh. Here we have a beautiful cherry tree. So what we've noticed is, oh, okay, great, sweet, fantastic. You all noticed nothing. Splendid, thank you. If you're enjoying this live stream, don't forget to double tap that screen and consider subscribing. We're gonna go up this way. Yeah, the cherry tree. Isn't she beautiful, everyone? So beautiful. So we won't go up, but you can see it from behind. So this property up here is rented out specifically for 100-day birthday parties and 1-year birthday parties. Because 100 days in traditional Korean culture is a really important time historically, not even traditional, historical culture, because many babies didn't survive to 100 days. So if they did, then there was a celebration of it, and then they would have the ceremony where the baby gets to pick its future, basically. So they actually, nowadays, part of that ceremony is actually renting hanbok, traditional Korean clothing, because most Koreans don't own their own anymore. And then they have a ceremony that, reflects all those traditions. And the big popular thing now is to come to a village like this, the quiet countryside, rent one of these beautiful historic homes for the celebration, instead of doing it in an expensive restaurant, which was what was done until very recently. Hear the joy. The baby probably grabbed the money. There's a series of objects that are placed in front of the baby, and whichever one the baby grabs will signify his future. One of them is money, one of them is gold, one of them is like a tool, fabric. So different things to indicate different potential outcomes. There's always a lot of cheers when the baby grabs the money, because that means the baby's going to get rich, hypothetically. Oh, no, we don't want to go this way, do we? No. This is a restaurant. This is one of the restaurants. However, as you can tell, they're not open. So we will clearly not be eating here. I expect that they're probably open on the weekend and during the summer when it's travel high time. We might have to get coupon delivery. If they deliver out to here. We will ask Nani, she'll know. Oh, last night we had the most delicious, something that was new for us, new in combination anyway, grilled pork belly with minari, water parsley, and the grease, the rendered grease from the skin and the fat of the pork belly infuse the minari with a deliciously rich flavor, and the minari itself has this really green, crisp, bitter flavor that just melds so nicely with it. So they grilled that together, and then they put rice on top of it and stir fried that all together. And then the rice absorbed all of the yummy grease. Oh, it was so good. 안녕하세요.
Yeah.
This might be a restaurant too, actually. She's wearing an apron, so I kind of think it might be. Oh, there's more ponies. Ah, and look, so they've got carrots on a stick, and you can put money in the box. So if you want to feed the horses, you can. Oh goodness! And they've got actually a riding helmet up there. So at some point, these ponies are ridden. It's kind of scary. Oh, APEC was held here in 2020 in April or October, right? October. So I bet there were a lot of people coming out here. I wonder, was this an APEC restaurant? Kind of looks like a restaurant. Looks like it's not very open at the moment. Nothing does. Yeah. Well, that's what happens when you come someplace during the week.
What river is this?
This is not a river. I'm pretty certain this is a stream that has been rock basically contained so that it doesn't cause issues during flooding season. Definitely not a river though, but a primary source of water for the village. There's a reservoir actually this way at the end of the road that feeds this. Oh, look at the cherry blossoms over there. So pretty. Okay, well, we are getting hungry. It's time for our lunch and our tea party. Are there any final questions? If you're watching this as a recording, pop your questions in the comments. But for those of you joining us live who are still there, are there any final questions? This was the portable tea kit that our lovely hostess, Nani Oni, my big sister now, owner of Hyangdan, gave us without me asking, so that we could go and have a little tea party out in the beautiful countryside. So one of the unexpected perks of staying at Hyangdan and enjoying the hospitality of the Yi family. Final comments or questions? Well, then I would like to thank my patrons and my channel members for supporting my travel vlogging work. I'd like to thank all of you who just joined us today and hopefully hit the thumbs up and decided to subscribe, ask great questions, or just enjoyed a unique view of Korea that not many people get to see. We will be doing more live streaming from Yangdong, so please do hit your notification bell, everyone. Otherwise, until next time, may your travels be creative and unexpected. Annyeong!